I had a little apartment in the south of Sweden, like in the city in Malmö, on the 9th floor. And there was a beautiful sunset. And I was there in my window on the 9th floor looking over at the sunset. The sun was going down over, like on the ocean outside Malmö. I could see Copenhagen on the other side of the water. Really beautiful evening. But I was like so frustrated, so angry. And I remembered I said to myself, is this fucking it? Is this the life I'm supposed to be living? Like in this city, in this little 20 square meter apartment, going to this job Monday to Friday every day. So I resigned. And that's when I went to Southeast Asia for the whole winter, just basically looking for something else.
And to say he did indeed find something else is an understatement. That is today's guest, Martin Vrana. He did something that many travelers have fantasized about, but never actually do. He found an empty plot of land across the world on a small island paradise and decided to build an island resort there. But he had no idea it would take well over a decade and that he'd face what can only be described as a relentless onslaught of challenges along the way, both with the project and within himself. Today, you'll hear his incredible story of sacrifice, resilience, and determination, and you're going to hear it right now. So buckle up, strap in. Thanks for being here, and welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
Hey, it's Jason here with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms, to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. No, I still haven't cleaned my car out from the last road trip. It's actually embarrassing when people get into it. I could probably survive on the food scraps in the back where my kids sit for, I don't know, maybe a week or something. Have you been there? Have you had that situation in your car? You can feel me. You know why I'm putting it off. Anyway, today's show, as you heard at the top, Martin Vrana is here to share his inspiring story. You're going to get an honest look at what it really took to completely transform his life and build something extraordinary, starting with nothing but a dream and a vision. And what I think sets him apart is that he was doing this in almost total isolation. What I mean is he wasn't trying to do this for social media or some type of immediate gratification in terms of business success and glory. He was doing this because he wanted something more in life, and he was basically willing to sacrifice everything to get it. You're going to hear what drove him to complete this project against all odds, some of the amazing accomplishments and devastating setbacks that occurred along the way, from learning the local language to sleeping with cobras above his bed, to keeping this project a secret from his mother for 10 years and why he did that. If you're feeling a bit stuck, maybe you're just dreaming of your own pie-in-the-sky project, or you love stories of resilience that remind you of what is possible when you truly commit to something, I'm sure this conversation will leave you feeling just as motivated and inspired as it left me. By the way, you can see what Martin did eventually build. Perhaps you want to save that for after the show, so you can take it all in with the context of his story over at lostparadise.world. We'll link up to that, as well as the wonderful documentary about him that you hear mentioned in this show, where I actually discovered his story in the first place. And if you'd like to stick around after the interview, I'll share one of my biggest takeaways from this conversation. Don't forget, before we dive in, zerototravel.com/newsletter goes out once a week, and it's free to sign up if you want to join the community over there and get more travel goodies. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Truly appreciate that. For now, please enjoy my conversation with Martin, and I'll see you on the other side, my friend. Cheers. Martin Vrana, welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend. Thanks for being here. Quite an honor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What a story.
Yeah.
This is. I mean, I just watched the documentary again. Of course, we had the pleasure of having the documentary filmmaker on the show as well, Robin. So, and then I said, "Oh man, you gotta put in a good word for me to Martin, because I know you guys are buddies now. I really want to talk to him because just talked about this in the intro a bit, but quickly give people an overview, like your 30-second elevator pitch of like what you actually accomplish. And then we're gonna dive deep. We're not gonna like leave it there, but I just so people have some context for the
I wish I had one prepared, but I'm gonna freestyle something. No, so what I did was basically I always wanted to break out of the ordinary. Like I really always believed there is something else to life, and I didn't believe in those societal norms and like frameworks. And I thought there is something else, So I went out on this, what turned into like a great adventure, getting my hands on a piece of land on the other side of the world on a small island. And then I kind of realized what a big step that was, like from thinking that I had like made it just by basically buying the land. And I thought, I made it. I'm a landowner, like, in Southeast Asia. But then I realized like, shit, I basically don't have anything. I transferred my money to somebody I just met. I came back to Europe. I'm broke. I don't have a job. I don't have an apartment. Like what the fuck have I done, And this actually turned into quite a motivator to actually keep working, keep going. And in the course of it's actually close to 15 years, I managed to build a place that I'm very, very, very proud of now. So I made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
lostparadise.world. We'll link up to it so people can see what you built. And I'll just share why it's inspiring to me, why you're inspiring to me. And then I want to get your thoughts on why you think your story resonates so powerfully with people. But to me, it's the devotion, the singular mission, the amount of resilience and resourcefulness and sort of bravery and craziness in some ways. It's just like, I mean, I could go on and on with the adjectives that is required to do what you've done. It's a testament to the human spirit, honestly. Like, I don't want to I know you're from Scandinavia, which we'll talk about. So, not used to like probably, what they call the Jantelova, not used to like trying to stand out too much.
Really,
but
thank you. I still appreciate to hear it, because it was a rough journey. It was really, really tough to push through all those years. So you're right, like all these things that you mentioned, and it's even things that I didn't even know about myself when I started out. So I learned along the way, like all these that I had inside of me. And that's kind of what I believe, like until this day, like even though I kind of built it and finished it, even if it would be gone today, I'm so happy for all the the life lessons and everything I learned along the way, because that's something I will always have with me, right? Into the future.
Well, what are some of the most surprising things that you learned along the way that surprised even you?
I for sure I know one, and that is that I didn't know that I had this. In the beginning, I called it. Actually, it's kind of funny because it was later on that someone told me I thought it was stubbornness. I thought I was really stubborn. I didn't want to let things go, and I just kept going. But it was a couple of years into the journey that somebody said, no, it's not stubbornness, it's determination. And that kind of made me realize, wow, it's kind of cool, because I always looked at it in a kind of negative way. But when somebody said, no, it's determination, I realized that is actually what I have. Like once I set my aim, once I have a goal, there is like nothing in the world that can stop me from achieving it. Like that's the thing why I managed to finish this crazy project, because I never saw failure or giving up as an option. It was always, I'm going to make it. Either I'm going to die, get old, die of age, or die by an accident or whatever, or I'm going to make it. There was never any hesitation. And that's definitely the number one thing I learned about myself, that this kind of hard determination, whatever it might be. Yeah.
That's a powerful reframe. Like, it's amazing when somebody says just one thing like that gives you a light bulb moment. You never know how like your words are going to impact people. It's like, oh no, that's not stubbornness, it's determination. It's like, whoa,
yeah, right? Yeah, it was exactly. Yeah.
Did you learn that about yourself in the way that you're like, oh, this is your part of your constitution, this is kind of who you are? Or do you think this sort of resilience and determination is something you learned by embarking on this giant
I would never
project?
I would never have found out if I had kept living my regular 9 to 5. It's kind of interesting story, because once I had taken all this on, basically I started out with no plan whatsoever, no experience in doing business. And also, that's a very important thing, I never started out with the aim and with the goal to create like a successful business or to start making big money or any of that. Like, I just wanted an adventure, basically. So I just started out completely blind, like with no goal, no plan, and just like land. I got my hands on this piece of land, right? And that was like the first step. And then I just kept going. And I invested, like Robin actually mentioned it in his documentary, that I had already invested so much in the beginning, like in the early stages, like both my like life savings and time as well. Like the years kept going, so there was basically no return, because I didn't want to let everyone down. Like, what I believed was that I put big expectations. I had said, oh, I have land in Southeast Asia and I'm building something, and people were kind of expecting some big results. And I always thought, no, I'm not the kind of person, I'm not going to let my friends down. I'm going to create something, whatever it might be,
Well, that's funny, because you were telling your friends about it, but you kept it as a secret from your mom.
Yeah.
For like a decade, which is also an incredible feat.
I know. And actually, the full story here is that in the beginning, in the early stages, like the first 2, 3, like 6 months, I did tell all my friends, like I showed pictures, I have land and stuff. But then I started feeling really ashamed, because I realized that I actually almost thought I had made a really, really big mistake. I wasn't sure that I had done the right thing. I thought, why did I transferred all my money? Like I said, came back broke. I didn't have a job. I really started regretting it. And I started getting a bit depressed, actually. It started spiraling, like the joy I had felt in the beginning. And I started feeling really scared, actually, what I had taken on. So after that, like those first months, I stopped telling people. I stopped even telling my friends, because I felt so ashamed. The years kept going, and they were all asking, like, do you have something? Have you built something? Like, what are you doing? And I didn't have any answers, because I myself didn't have a plan. I still didn't know what I was building. I just closed myself in this work bubble, saving money, working hard, returning to Southeast Asia to try to build something. And this lasted for many, many years. This lasted until actually 10 years. I was in this weird, lonely bubble. And so once I showed everyone what I had done, this was actually now, this New Year, that I presented it to the world, basically.
It's so unique, because it's just like what you've done, who you are. What you've done is because of who you are, and the people that have helped you, of course, and the people you've been able to connect with, and all the locals and everything. I get chills just thinking about it, because it's such a beautiful, pure thing in many ways, because especially nowadays, I mean, when you started this many years ago, like a lot of these types of quests now, it's about, oh, I'm going to do this. But part of that is, it's also, I'm going to build my YouTube channel up. People are going to follow me, and like, that's cool, because that's a cool way to like start a business, and people can follow you in your journey and the highs and lows, and you capture all that and everything. And that's definitely cool and authentic. And I'm not knocking anybody that does that, but this is just pure, man. This is you out. You weren't doing this to like build a social media following or become an influencer, and again, those things inspire people. So I'm not knocking those things, but there's a purity to this that excites me about your story, because, and again, it's easy for me on the outside to say, well, this excites me, this inspires me. But then we have to put ourselves in your shoes and think about some of the, the darker times for you, how much of a struggle it was. You must have constantly had to overcome your own self-doubt. All of the work, like the crazy amount of work you did to make it happen.
All the time. Yeah.
I don't know how we can do this verbally to really help people understand like what this actually took for you. I'll give an example, like on your website. I mean, you talk about just getting the wood there, you said was like an intricate logistical journey through Indonesia that took years to master. I mean, that's just getting materials to build. That's one tiny piece of the whole thing.
Exactly. It's insane how many parts went into this.
How do you articulate it? It's so difficult. I mean, how do you explain?
I'm still myself trying to, sometimes wrap my head around it. Why? And, what was I even doing? And it really does come down to this, like, just because I used to like be such a young punk, skateboarding, listen to punk music, just, against the like society and stuff like that. And this was all part of it, right? Going my own way, doing my own thing. And I hated to have like a boss or someone above me. I like authority. I couldn't stand it. So the whole thing was to have basically get freedom. And I like I said, I believe there is something more to life that I wanted to explore. And the truth to be told, it kind of went full circle in the way that I did explore. I got to explore what I was looking for, and I got the adventure I was looking to have. But in the end, I really, really, really started to appreciate as well, the societies that we live in and how people take care of each other, and like some things that we take for granted, like in some parts of the world at least, right? So I learned a lot, and the thing is, like, in the end, I'm not sure I would want to recommend anyone to embark on the journey I did. You definitely have to just want that adventure. And I don't know if that maybe it was even from all those adventure books when I was a kid, Jules Verne, Around the World in 80 Days, all these books that I read, these adventure books. I sometimes I wish like I was like, I see myself as this like modern day, like still one of the last true like explorers or adventurers. I don't know. It was all a very romanticized thing that I wanted to accomplish and just do. And I also want to say that a very important part was that I truly believe that I have to make it. I'm going to make it, and I have to make it, because like otherwise the whole universe and the energies, like everything I believed in, it wouldn't work. I was so convinced that I would. And I thought like, and then it would be amazing to be able to like inspire people, and like to be here on your podcast and to be able to tell the story is so important to me, to be able to share, that it is possible. Whatever you set your mind to, it is possible. And you just have to be very, very ready to, there are going to be things along the way that you're going to just have to prioritize right and give up on some things that you maybe going to miss out on a lot of stuff.
I have a lot to pull out
Yeah.
from that. I want to start with what you just said there, that idea that, there are some things you're going to have to sacrifice. And, you mentioned, I was like a skateboarding punk running from security guards to listening to the Dead Kennedys and all the punk rock music.
Yeah.
So like, I got your vibe on that. Except, you were in Sweden doing it. I was in the U.S. doing it. We were probably both running from the cops on several occasions on our skateboards, because they didn't let you skateboard back then. Now they build skateboard parks for people.
Right. If we only had what they have today, right?
We grew up in the wrong era, man. And this, I think, applies to anybody listening who embarks on any sort of adventure, right? Like you mentioned sort of the ideal of freedom that you had. Like you wanted to be free. You wanted to have this freedom. But the other side of that coin was, in order to have it, you were, some months you're working like over 400 hours a month and like 3 different jobs back in Norway to be able to get the money so you can go back and do this stuff. In that moment, you could say, well, do I have freedom right now? Because I have this project, I have to give up all my time to earn money for this project. But you don't have to look at it that way. You know, you can look at it as like, this is what it takes and this is what I'm committed to. And so that is tied in with my freedom. So, you know, I'm just wondering how you saw that, because I think everybody listening a lot of people listening have gone through a period where, you know, they might want to have a travel goal or some other goal, and they have to make sacrifices to make it happen. And so sometimes those sacrifices can be hard to make. I'm just wondering from a mindset perspective, how you sort of reconcile those two things.
You know, I just saw it as a part of the plan, as a part of what was necessary to do at that specific point. I think I have the plan to reach the goal with the different checkpoints you have to get through to reach it. Like, that's a second thing I learned about myself. I can really clearly just see it. And then I just go through these different things that have to be done. And at that time, what I realized, because I thought, of course, I got so much advice from different people, and some people was telling me, like, go to the bank, take a loan, just build this, and someone else said, get an investor and do this. And people had so much different advice. But in the end, I realized, no, you know, I'm selling myself. I'm selling my dream. Instead, I want freedom. And instead I'm selling myself to somebody else. I'm going to end up working for somebody else. I'm going to owe somebody else money again. You know, that's exactly what I'm trying to not to do. And at that time, I realized that I'm going to work and save money, because I was a hard worker already then. And it all came together really well. Like, I found so much support from the places where I was working, and they liked me. They wanted to give me a lot of overtime and puzzle together my life so that I was nonstop working. And the crazy thing was this obsession, because I realized I'm in this phase now towards on my journey. I'm still on this big, great adventure. I just have to get through this working super hard and saving up like X amount of money. And the thing is that I realized, okay, I might as well optimize this window of time as much as I can. So not only I worked 3 full-time jobs, which was between 400 and 450 hours a month. And I also started, okay, how else can I optimize it? So I started waking up even an hour earlier and cycling to work instead of commuting normally, because I thought, okay, I can get this exercise. And I stayed after work. I stayed and went to the gym for an hour. And I had this rule, okay, when I get home, I have to do 200 push-ups before I get to eat and sleep. So I just squeezed in all these other things, because I thought, it was definitely a weird obsession. And I'm not sure I would recommend everyone to do it, but this was my way to cope with it. And it might have been, now that I'm looking back at it, it might have been also one of the reasons that I actually kind of got a bit sick or depressed or whatever you want to call it, after all this stuff, pushing myself that hard, But it worked. And then I returned to Indonesia to keep building. And also the panic that then later, maybe a year later, the panic when I realized that the money that I had saved up this crazy hardworking period, it's not going to be enough. It's actually already almost zero. And I thought, I'm going to have to do it again. So I had to back again and find a lot of jobs and start doing it again all over. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And the thing that actually kind of saved me was when COVID arrived, because everything stopped.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. It was
somebody in the travel industry, you could say, saying, oh, I'm really,
But also a very important detail I want to mention right away is, with COVID, there were so many people that I saw over there, or here in Asia, but everywhere, right? Struggling, having businesses, just open businesses or just bought an apartment or whatever. And people really struggling, in weird situations. But to me, since I didn't owe anybody money, I had worked and built, everything just stopped. And I could just sit it out, just waited and thought, okay, I just basically got this well-deserved break where everything stopped, the whole world. And that's where I regained new energy to continue, because I returned back to Europe and I took 1 year, the first year of COVID, and just worked like a normal job, normal pace, and just thought, okay, what am I doing with my life? This is insane. But the second year of COVID, I had found new energy to continue. I thought, this is good. I'm really close. That's actually when I really started seeing for the first time the vision of what I was actually building. It had been somewhere there in the background all this whole time, but that's where I really saw that, I'm actually building a resort, a full-on resort here on this tropical island, and I'm really, really close to achieving this goal. So I got new energy and I returned. And then I also approached friends, and I got some great support from really, really lovely people. So I returned and I was able to finish our swimming pool and put details in place. So once we opened after COVID, it was actually, since then, it's been going as a train.
Hearing this story only makes me want to go visit too and see it for myself.
You have to.
That's for sure. Is it okay if we talk a little bit about your family? And I know your father passed away when you were younger. And of course, I don't really enjoy playing armchair psychologist, but I have to think on some level, some of this was some kind of form of therapy. Would that be, what do you think?
That you mean how
like for you to take on this project, and was it therapeutic in some way? Were you processing during this time? I'm not sure what the timeline was in terms of when he passed away and when you started this project. Maybe you could. Is it okay to talk about?
It is more than okay. It is okay. Yeah.
Okay, I just want permission there.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah. And I lived a very turbulent time after his passing, where I was around 25. And then I kind of started, thinking more about life, and definitely started thinking about these life choices and what turns life can take. And I still remember this one time, after I had sorted out everything with our old house and all the memories and everything, I still remember it was 2 years later, maybe 2 years. And I had a little apartment in the south of Sweden, in the city in Malmö, on the 9th floor. And it was a beautiful sunset. And I was there in my window on the 9th floor looking over at the sunset. The sun was going down over, on the ocean outside Malmö. I could see Copenhagen on the other side of the water. Really beautiful evening. But I was so frustrated, so angry. And I remembered I said to myself, is this fucking it? Is this the life I'm supposed to be living? In this city, in this little 20 square meter apartment, going to this job Monday to Friday every day. And that's where when I actually, there was some kind of frustration. I had just had enough. So I resigned, and that's when I went to Southeast Asia for the whole winter, just basically looking for something else. And then after I started working in hospitality in Norway most of the time, I met a lot of amazing people, and I started escaping the winters to Southeast Asia, looking for some kind of window, some kind of door to open. And that's exactly what happened. On my fifth year, I got this opportunity to acquire this land by really, really amazing people. They took me in as their own. And I have met amazing families along the way that really, really have taken me in as their own. And because they saw that I was kind of broken and lonely periods, in these time periods. So I'm very, very grateful. And how many amazing people there are out there. On that 5th winter, I ended up getting this land and returning to Europe, super proud. And from there it went.
Yeah. Landing back in Europe with no money, though, and no job and everything.
Exactly.
You're a pretty resourceful dude, I got to say. I guess you figured it out when you got back.
Yeah.
It's an interesting contradiction with, of course, 20 square meter apartment, 9 to 5, to this life you eventually were living and built for yourself. And what you said at the beginning, sort of coming full circle to appreciate some of that societal sort of support that people get, whereas it was a bit of a rebellion against that. Yeah, I'm just curious because the Scandinavian culture and values is, there's a lot of value placed on sort of like the social safety net, excuse me. A lot of people are on some people call it here the hamster wheel, kind of like 9 to 5, come home and things like that. And a lot of people work traditional jobs here, and it's a good job market and it's pretty stable. And a lot of people live that life and they appreciate that life. And
they should.
At the same time, it's not. Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, it's not for everybody. Or maybe it's for you in a different period of your life. It depends on, obviously the individual, but
that's
for
exactly, that's exactly the thing that I was missing all those years. I don't know if people can see it the way I see it, but this comfort and this peace of mind, knowing that, okay, today's Monday, I'm going to work until Friday, and Friday afternoon, I can just go home. I can sit on my couch watching TV. I don't have to think about anything. I have 2 days off. Like, that doesn't exist in my life. Every day to me, doesn't matter if it's Monday or Wednesday or Sunday or like Saturday morning. It's all the same. There is always things that like wake me up in the morning, things to do. And it has been like that for many, many years. And that is, of course, the entrepreneurial way of life. But I for sure sometimes am really like envious, or like I wish people appreciated and knew like the comfort of having, a home, stable job, stable income, and all those kind of luxuries that we have in the West with healthcare and education. Because the parts of the world where I have been active now, like these things don't exist, and we are so fortunate in the West, and we do take it for granted from a young age. So I really wish people saw it, like how well and how much we have to thank our politicians and our societies, how they have been built throughout the years to actually. Of course, there is always much more to wish for and much more to improve, but compared to most parts of the world, we do have it really, really well.
Coming from Scandinavia, I'm sure you were able to. You go from a society that's, generally speaking, Scandinavia is usually ranked among the happiest people in the world. There's like you have universal healthcare and all those things. And like you said, traveling around to places where, in other parts of the world where many people might even dream of having a situation like that, where they had those things covered. And so, yeah, it's just, this is what travel is. It's always this in your face sort of extreme ideas, extreme perspectives, like sort of like a barrage of them constantly just hitting your brain, trying to figure out. I guess it forces self-reflection. Nothing forces self-reflection probably more than, being alone on an island, building a resort for a decade plus.
Yeah. Tell me about it. That's
you can't really measure it, but obviously this takes some kind of toll on your mental health at certain points, your physical health, which probably was actually you're active all the time. So it's physically probably.
No, even that, I was working and stressing, and I was at this point, it's kind of crazy. I woke up so early, just running around on this construction site, stressing. I forgot to eat. I lost weight. I was really, really sick. And I do have photos from these days, and like my eyes, I look completely dead inside. I couldn't smile. My smile was gone. It's crazy. I definitely not feeling good, but I tried to now and then balance it. Mostly when I went back to Europe, when I was working, I tried to like do some kind of, but then there is like this thing when you're like go so hard on trying to save money, then you're not spending money on expenses like gym and proper food and stuff like that, right? And like these things like giving up on like prioritizing, it's sad because sometimes you get opportunities in life, whether it be job opportunities or like travel somewhere or experience something with friends or meeting like a partner or whatever, but Like those are the things that I had to give up along the way to, like, in order to reach the goal. Maybe now, with everything that I know about myself and about how to do these things, it wouldn't have to be that hardcore. But back then, it was the only way that I knew how to do it. I thought I had to do it all myself.
And you did. I mean, well, you had help, but you figured out a lot of stuff on your own, man. That's, one of the things I love about your story too is that you really ingratiated yourself with the community. You learned the language. You're there. You're like a resident there. You have local friends. You're part of the place. You're not like some outside investor that came in and flies in every once in a while and built a place and then goes back to their. You live there. What have you learned from the Indonesian people? What have they taught you about life, about yourself?
So much. I love this one example that I say when asked. And for example, on this construction site, when the carpenter broke the hammer, in my head, like automatically, I just said, okay, give me 2 minutes. I go to the shop, I buy a new one. I'll be back in 2 minutes. And he just looked at me and just shook his head. He didn't understand. And he just took a piece of wood and his knife and just made a new handle and fastened it and started working again. Like, it's like a completely different approach. Here we just consume and buy things, and we throw in the recycling places or in the containers in the city. You see so much furniture and useful stuff here that would never happen. Like, everything can be reused, recycled. And that's definitely something I'm taking with me, that, you can see things and you can reuse them and create kind of amazing things.
Especially since you arrived, Bali and the surrounding area has changed quite a bit. I know that just from talking to other travelers, just from following it. I've seen how big it's become for digital nomads and people to base out of. And I can try to find it and link to it. I watched this whole sort of news report that was titled, I think, "Is Instagram Ruining Bali?" And it was this whole sort of about the development and everything that's changed. What do you see? What, in terms of being on the ground, what changes have you seen? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a lot of these articles, a lot of talk about these things. And for sure, it goes fast here. Like, once a new area is discovered and development starts, it goes super fast. Like, in 1 year, it can be completely overbuilt with hotels, villas. It is sad, it is sad. But I believe some people do it not very pretty. Like you said, like you mentioned, they arrive with big money, just get like big, like contractors, like these big developers, and they build like crazy big things. But then there are, of course, like other people like me come here, maybe want to start like a cafe or some small business. And that's the whole hard thing, like for me, like I can't judge. I don't know where the limit goes, what's okay, what's not okay. But I believe the important thing is to try to still respect the local people and like to be kind, Some people come here and they really do behave like assholes. But when it comes to Bali as a beautiful island, and like the worry that it's might get like too much development and overcrowded, like it's a big island. There's still a lot of like undeveloped areas. There are some crazy developed areas. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, in terms of travel advice, where would you recommend people? Of course, the Gili Islands, Lost Paradise. Come visit your resort.
I have to visit my resort, yeah.
Well, tell us about that area, and where else would you say? I mean, I know maybe at the risk of disclosing too much, but
I did buy myself, as a little gift to myself, for all those years of suffering, I bought myself a little present, and that is a blue little Vespa, uh, old Vespa from 1976. And on that one, I drive around, explore the island. So I definitely do have a few favorite spots here and there, but I'm not sure I want to share them all. But let me say this.
I understand.
Let me say this. I'm located in Canggu, which is a super busy. It used to be a surf spot. Now it's more party spot, right? But that's where I'm located. And from here, I now and then go out to the Gili Islands. It's you sit in a car for an hour, and then the boat takes 1.5 hours, and you reach the Gili Islands. They actually belong to Lombok, which is the neighboring island of Bali. And they are definitely worth a visit. There is good diving, for example. But from here, from Canggu, where I'm right now, I can recommend people to get on a bike and drive north, maybe along the coast or a little bit inland. And you will see beautiful rice fields and villages, and my favorite spots are located along the west coast, where you still have like long unspoiled beaches and beautiful sunsets. So they are still here.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people listening have either visited, because it's a popular place to visit, of course, area of the world, or have plans to. I'm just wondering, and just your best advice for how we should behave as tourists on the ground. How can we be good tourists in Bali?
They are quite used to tourism here. They have had it since the 60s. I think the Rolling Stones were here early on, and a lot of celebrities. And the Balinese people are really kind people. They like tourists. You have to be a little bit more reserved when you travel west, maybe for example Java, or east to Lombok or those islands. For example, like it might not be okay to wear a bikini on all beaches and stuff like that. But other than that, I think as long as you're just polite, you'll be fine.
How much did learning the language open up
a lot
the country for you?
A lot. Still every day. Because it just puts a smile on people's face, and especially for me, who learned it from the old carpenters on the construction site. That's actually how I learned it. I didn't take any course or went to any school or use any app. I just sat in the evenings with the carpenters there at Lost Paradise and drinking coffee and talking with them. And so now when I speak with Indonesian people, I do sound like an old Indonesian carpenter, which they find quite funny.
They're like, who is this old soul?
Yeah. And also, I know things that most tourists don't know. I know these weird, like, cultural things that only, like, people, like, in Central Java know, or, like, Papua or somewhere. Like, these, like, weird, I don't know, like, weird jokes or, like, inside things. I don't know. And sometimes when people, like, it makes people laugh. It's good. It's a good...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot easier to connect when you know that type of information.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a question I've asked before when I've come to new places, and I'll meet a local and I'll say, hey, can you tell me like a phrase or something I can say that will make people think, oh, like, how did he learn that? Even though I might not even understand exactly what it even means in some ways. Mostly people have been nice. I think they haven't taught me to say something that would get me beat up or something. You mentioned a little bit earlier one of the things that kept you going too was I can't remember, I'm paraphrasing, but you said something like, if I stop, this would be going against kind of like the things I believe in the universe. And I think you said energy and things like that. I'm just wondering, like, what are some of the fundamental beliefs you have that kind of kept you going, or that you really leaned on, whether they're like spiritual or energetic or practical or any, really anything? It's an open question.
Yeah. So I do believe one of the most fundamental ones came from my dad, actually. And he always told me that whatever you do, Martin, make sure to do it properly. And that's how I was brought up as well. My dad didn't accept any, half-assed results. It was quite a strict upbringing. So I'm realizing I brought that with me to actually, I do things thoroughly, properly. But I also do believe in the energy of the universe itself. That I do believe that whatever you put in, it will reward you. I do believe it's quite like this equilibrium. The more you put in, the more you will be rewarded. So that's the whole thing. That's what kept me going, because I believe that I will make it. I have to make it. Otherwise, the universe is broken. Otherwise, it's not working. And I was just convinced that is how it works. It has to be. So I'm very happy that I made it. Because I have to be honest, there was doubts. Of course, there were doubts. There was no guarantee anything could have happened along the way. But that's what I believe is the whole spirit of entrepreneurship. You just keep going no matter what. Sometimes people, when you hear like podcasts or something about entrepreneurship and stuff, people come with examples and say, yeah, you have to fail many times and you have to try again and you have to fail. But it's weird, like in my story, it doesn't feel like I failed, because I felt like I only had one chance. I only had one shot, and this was it. I couldn't fail it. So I really walked very carefully not to make a big mistake and not to lose it all, because this was my only shot. I couldn't have started over. I just wouldn't have had the energy to start over if I would have failed this one.
With something like this, a journey like this, you have to hold many truths in your hands, right? You have to be sort of the ultimate dreamer, and you, like you said, trusting in the universe and some of those things, but then you also have to be the ultimate sort of practical thinker and problem solver. And, it's like that balance between practicality, reality, money, logistics, getting wood to, these things that all need to happen. But then there's this other side of energetic and trusting that, certain things are going to work themselves out over time, even if it doesn't seem like that on the surface right away. And there were setbacks, like when you ripped out all the electrical lines, transporting the wood, which,
right. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, you had these things happen along the way. But then I guess when things like that happen, maybe you lean on one other part of it, which is like, you lean on different parts of it to carry you through, I suppose.
Yeah. But that's, that you just brought up, it's such an important thing as well, like these doubts that you have along the way, because it's super rare to find support amongst friends, to actually just always like people rather say, for some reason they say, Martin, like, why are you not gonna giving up, like just return back, like find a job, get an apartment, like what are you doing with your life? This energy is everywhere, and the hardest thing is to try to go the opposite direction and not listen to all of this, and just keep year after year believing that I am doing something right. And that's for sure one of the hardest things to, because we think people maybe know better. Maybe they see something that we don't see. Maybe they know what's best for me. But I still have to believe in that what I'm doing is the right thing. And that is the hardest thing, I would say. And that's probably the main reason why I didn't tell my mom about this journey for all those years, because I know that she would be so worried and she would not have been supportive. She would just been, I couldn't lay that on her. as well, right? Because I don't want to worry my mom. But it was also a little bit of my egoistic, because I couldn't handle more negative and non-supportive things, which I suspect I would have gotten.
Well, important lesson there. In this case, it's even your own mother, right? But like, there's that idea for anybody listening that's pursuing something, which we all are at various stages in our life, various things, whether it's entrepreneurial or travel or whatever. It can be super helpful to protect yourself from those people, even if they're some of the people that are the closest to you.
Yes.
But if you know you're not going to get the support you need, it's not that it doesn't mean you have to cut them out of your life, but maybe you put a little layer of protection.
Exactly. But it's also that's so hard to in the moment to know who actually has good advice and who has not so good advice. It's really hard because you always like listen to people and you try to think like, maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't do this. And, but what I learned is always believe in yourself. Always do whatever you have on your mind and you will be fine. You will be the only things I regret is when I actually listen to other people. Funny enough. But also I have to mention that rarely, sometimes amazing, cool, intelligent, like people show up in your life and just like come with this amazing energy. And those people are the ones you have to just surround yourself with. They are, yeah. And I'm very fortunate. I have met quite a few along this journey. So I want to say here on your podcast, I want to say thank you very, very much to all of you, all of them. I'm sure they know who they all are.
Yeah, I mean, I think you even named some of your bungalows after them.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, true.
The transition from being in this state where you're constantly working, striving towards this thing, you're just in it. You're fully in it. And now you're not.
No, right? Yeah.
How has that been for you?
Yeah, I'm still recovering a little bit, to be honest.
Was there a mourning period?
What?
Was there like a mourning period? I mean, did you just break down and cry?
No, I wouldn't say that. It was just like a weird kind of slow awakening, I would say. Just kind of slowly, very slowly I sometimes try to push myself to like realize what I have actually accomplished and done. But it's been so many years, so it's just become so natural to me. It's like my life. So it's not even weird anymore. It's just who I am and what I'm doing. I don't need much more rest or anything. I think I've had enough. So now I have so many new plans and ideas. But I also learned how not to do it, right? I learned how not to treat myself and not to put myself last. That is one of the most important lessons.
Yeah, okay. So you're learning to say no, or at least throw away some of the idea. Oh, do you think that if you pursue another idea that it's going to be another one of these multi-year type of things? Or?
For sure, like a proper one. Yeah. But I'm not gonna.
Oh man!
But I'm not gonna suffer. I'm not gonna like be suffering, like really like go into like this 10-year depression. No way, because now I know how to do it, and I know I can. I wanted to do it all myself. This Lost Paradise journey. I wanted to, because I believe that. Actually, sometimes rightfully so, that I have to do it myself. But now I know that there are amazing people out there I can reach out to, and there are some things that I don't know how to do, and they know much better, and I can put together a good team. I want to enjoy the next journey. I'm going to enjoy to the fullest.
That's something to be really excited about, I would say.
It is. Is. Yeah. It's a little bit scary because I really want to, I'm going to shoot high. I'm just going to, I got like really excited after all this about life. And I think it was kind of from being in some kind of, reaching some kind of bottom of when I was feeling the worst and I was really sad and everything was coming back to me, and like, but actually come back out of it and land back on your feet is quite amazing. So I'm very, very optimistic about the future and really, really looking forward to the continuation of this journey.
Now, I imagine you have a lot more time on your hands than you did before to pursue other things. And I think one of those things is music, right? You spend a lot of your time making music? Or tell me about what making music means to you. I play in a band as well. I definitely can resonate with music as a sort of a creative outlet.
Yeah. I started many years ago, actually played in a punk band back in the days in the south of Sweden. I really miss that. And I'm still thinking about maybe putting together a punk band here in Bali. Could be fun, right? Right. But I also happened to fall in love with synthesizers and techno music. So that's actually what I have been doing for many, many years. And I still have my speakers right here next to me. And unfortunately, I have to, like this year, I have to upgrade some software and stuff, like the CPU on the computer and stuff. It's like it's annoying when you like are in the creative process and like the software is not working. And so so music and writing, I usually like somewhere in between those two. Like when I have some days, some I want to do something, I either sit and write. That's hopefully also going to turn into a little book one day, or I make music.
I was going to ask you about that, if you were going to write a book about this experience, so you could really dive deep into that. Is that something you're doing? And you just haven't really told. Okay, yeah, it's like an intentional. You're like, I am writing a book on this, or is it? Actually,
it's kind of funny because it isn't the type of book that I think many entrepreneurs do once they have started their business and they basically write a book about that, because I started this book project already long time ago when I was a teenager, and I wanted to remember all these stories from back in the day that are too good to be forgotten. So basically it's a little biography, and I'm hoping that there will be a red line going through the entire book from when I was a little kid in the south of Sweden to where I am now, so that people can see, oh, that's why these things happened, and that's why he did what he did. And we will see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to read that book, so when it gets out there, let me know. We'll have
I will
you
let
back
you
on.
know. I have to speed up, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, if you were going to leave people with some food for thought, or perhaps a challenge or a favorite quote or anything like that, like you just want to leave them with something.
Oh, I have so many good ones. But since we were talking about that book writing, kind of the cool thing is, if you see your life as a book, it's a very good way of seeing your life, that there are always chapters, new chapters coming. Sometimes we don't know what the next chapter brings, but you can also see yourself as the author of the book. You are the one deciding what is going to be written, what the next chapters are going to be about. If you're writing a biography, it's not that you like just reading something and you don't know. Like, it's your life. You decide how you want it to end, and you decide how it want to. Is it going to be like a comedy, or is it going to be some kind of horror story?
Yeah. What is your character? I guess, one of the things you said earlier was that you kind of saw yourself as this, a romanticized kind of like an adventurer, like you're out as an adventurer. I think that can be really helpful as like something to hold on to and help carry you through if you are seeing your life as a book, as you mentioned, and like, okay, I'm on a hero's journey, or what character am I? Well, even though I might not feel like it in the moment, I'm going to say I'm a adventurer who perseveres. I'm going to hold on to that for myself, to carry me through.
Maybe it helps, right? To have this, like how you view yourself. Maybe. one important thing that I do want to mention is a part of this is that I truly believe, as much as I did believe in the energy of the universe, it is that life, like what it truly matters in the end, when we are old, on laying on our deathbed, is all the stories that we have. And it doesn't have to be good stories. It can be the sad ones, the most painful ones. So we have to really learn to appreciate while we are in the middle of it. You're super heartbroken, or somebody near, like, those are the moments that you will remember, right? When you're in the middle of it, it's not easy to appreciate, but that's when you feel life the strongest, in those moments. And in the end, that's what it truly is about.
Absolutely. And I feel like, just reflecting a bit more on your journey and your project, that, thinking about you out there on that island, you really had a lot of time to think and to be with yourself. I imagine you didn't have the same sort of digital distractions and things like that a lot of people have, which means
I barely had
you're sitting with yourself.
Yeah.
You're sitting with your emotions. You weren't necessarily able to, feel something negative and then, all right, well, I'm just going to watch, 5 hours of internet. Escape this feeling.
Yeah, no.
Having all that time to sit with everything, now that you're back in society, let's call it, is it still that way?
When I think about it, it's crazy, because for many years, I just had this wooden house. It looked like a stable on the construction site in the middle of the island. And we barely had electricity enough for one little light bulb in the darkness. And I was just there on the wooden floor, basically on the floor. I had a thin little mattress and a mosquito net. And there were so many mosquitoes, and there were hornets. And there was I got stung by scorpions, and I even had a black cobra above my bed one night. And I was just there alone. In that, I definitely did make it a bit hard on myself. But at that point, I felt that was what was necessary, right? To be on this construction site and try to build something. And I don't know if I did during those days reflect that much about everything. I was more stressed about the whole project and the whole, every day what had to be done. And I slept as a baby. I fell asleep right away. I fell asleep. I woke up 6 a.m, at sunrise. I was up already doing stuff. But it's definitely something now I can reflect back on, because I still remember 2 things that were amazing. That was when I got cold water first. I finally, when we got a little bit stronger electricity, I could connect this machine, with you have the water gallon on top, and I could get cold water. That felt like such a luxury out there.
What about your connection to nature?
Oh, it's important. I mean, I grew up in the south of Sweden so I love forests, mostly those Scandinavian forests. That's probably my favorite nature. But I do love skiing as well, in the Alps or in the Norwegian mountains. And I do walk barefoot a lot here. I do walk barefoot most of the days.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw that you're renovating what you call the ghost house.
Yeah.
Is that the same
That's the
place
one
that you described where you were living?
It is.
Yeah.
So
okay.
if your listeners are interested, they can go on my Instagram, right? And I just started, I think I just posted episode 9, because that's the cool thing. That's actually Robin. Robin and me have been talking about this. So he actually kind of pushed me into start doing this, basically promotion, because I haven't marketed the place. I haven't done any marketing. I haven't done any social media. I felt it wasn't my thing. I didn't know how to approach it. But now I found this way to actually talk about building in Indonesia. It's something I'm passionate about. and I like sharing it with people. And also this thing that the whole Lost Paradise journey that I kept secret for 10 years, I think it's time now that I start actually, talking about what I'm doing and what I'm working on. I think it's time.
Well, I appreciate that you are doing that here on this podcast. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Last question. Yeah. Is it emotional, like renovating the house that you were living in for so many years? Is there any emotional tie to maybe not knocking it down, but just fixing it up in a different way?
A little bit, but not that much, because like I said, it's my life now, I've been living it for all those years. It feels very normal and natural to be there, walking around barefoot on this construction site and just overseeing this construction. It's what I enjoy. It's good. But what is kind of amazing and sometimes makes me a bit emotional, it's like when for example, you and other people show appreciation and reach out and want to hear my story. I really, really appreciate to have the chance to tell it, to tell people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time telling it. Of course, we'll link up to everything.
Yeah.
Is the best place for people to go. Yeah, we got lostparadise.world.
Exactly.
Of course, so they can
then
see this.
Of course, Robin's documentary.
Yep. Well, we're going to put that in the show notes as well. Lost Traveler spends 13 years building resort in paradise.
Yes, exactly.
It's amazing. It's an amazing film. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. He made it so beautifully. So I'm so grateful. And the cool thing is that during all those 15 years of building, I did document it pretty well. And I did save everything on a hard drive that was in my mom's basement. So Robin actually went there and picked it up when he was making the documentary. So there is actually original footage from all those 15 years that he really brilliantly put in there.
Yeah, it is an amazing film. I just hooked me in right away. And then I, found out about his work. And so we had him on, and then we got to the pleasure of getting to chat with you today, Martin. So, man, I'm glad we're in touch. I really appreciate you sharing your story, which I find so inspiring. We'll encourage everybody to follow, the renovations and everything that you're doing on Instagram, and check out the resort you've built. And I'm sure you're going to get some guests eventually, and I'd like to be one of them one day. So, man, thank you so much.
No, thank you to your listeners. Amazing. Thank you for the talk. Amazing.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Just an incredible story. Feel honored that he took the time to come on and share it. Thank you to Martin Vrana. And please check out his resort that he built over at lostparadise.world, and hope I get to do another one with him in person at some point, maybe at that resort. I'd love to do that. Okay, I'm going to leave you with a quote in just a moment. First, just a quick takeaway. I always like to highlight something from the conversation, if possible, something you can walk away with. And I think for me, one of the things that stuck out is just a reminder that there are so many challenges you face when you go on a new journey, whether it's, this is, of course, a huge example of what he did, the, decade plus long project, but not all of us are going to take on things that take that long. But at any scale, there are always going to be challenges you're going to face that cannot be predicted. And you can try to predict some of them, and some of those predictions do come true. And then when that happens, I feel like, you can kind of react in a much calmer way, because you're like, oh, well, I thought this might happen. I kind of had a backup plan. But then inevitably, things will happen that you just can't predict. So this is where a lot of people get stopped in their tracks, I feel, and I certainly have, when you're deciding to go on a new path and you start looking at some of the things that might happen, and a lot of those loop in with the fears you may have, and sort of like you do your own risk assessment and analysis. And sometimes that can just stop us dead in our tracks, because those risks pile up, and then we realize, well, if these are the things we just know, what about the things we don't know? But the fact is, no matter what we embark on, there are going to be challenges that we face that we do not know. And once we kind of accept that, I feel that it's much easier to go on those paths because you realize, okay, well, I know there are challenges waiting for me that I don't have the answer to, but when they arrive, as long as you just have the confidence in yourself that you can solve those things. And of course, I think that grows over time, but that confidence, even if it's you tricking yourself like a false sense of confidence where you're like, you know what, when things pop up, I've solved other problems in my life. I can solve those things as well. It allows you to move forward with confidence. And a big part of this podcast and the mission here is, let's face it, all of us collectively pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, whether that's a travel or otherwise, right? I mean, for some people that might be, their first trip overseas. For others, it might be taking a year off to travel. For others, it might be starting a location independent business, and so on and so on. All of those things have in common unpredictable challenges, and I know you'll face those when they arrive. And everything we do, we might not succeed, but that's okay. We're still learning through all of those challenges. And that level of commitment that Martin brought to this project, I think, is the thing, sort of the X factor that can push us through these challenges when they arrive. Because if we have a certain level of commitment, we're not going to let those things stop us. And that doesn't mean the project we're doing, X, Y, or Z project, won't fail, but perhaps it fails for other reasons other than us not being willing to face those challenges when they arise. Anyway, that is just a bit of a sort of off-the-cuff rant kind of takeaway I had from this conversation, and I thought I'd share it here with you. By the way, before I let you go, I'm going to leave you with a quote that I think summarizes some of the things that we talked about in this show, the themes. But before I let you go, just want to remind you, we do have a free newsletter over at zerototravel.com/newsletter. If you haven't signed up for that, please sign up over there. Would love to have you join the community and keep in touch over there. Okay, I'll leave you with this quote from Bob Marley, who said, "You never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice." Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Peace and love to you and yours. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by zerototravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.